Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Drag Detective, where today we are going to finish our discussion on All Stars 4. We just talked about what was rigged about it, so now we're going to go through the season episode by episode and break down how things potentially might have went if they weren't rigged. But as always, I am just one man. This is just my opinion. This is not the only opinion. I'm sure you will have some differing opinions in the comments. This is just the fairest thing that I could come up with myself. But things get a little wild and things get a little weird. So stick with me and we can discuss in the comments after you're finished watching the video. But first, I just want to thank you guys so much for 40K. This channel has grown so much in the last year, and that is all because of you guys. So I'm very, very excited to hit that 50K milestone, hopefully by like the end of summer. So if you aren't already, I would love it if you could subscribe, help me get to that 50K goal. I would very much appreciate it. Let's get into episode 1. Episode 1 is the variety show, and this one to me had a very clear top 3 with Monique, Latrice, and Gia. I think Gia Gunn did something that was completely different than anything we've seen before in the talent show, at least of what I can think of in the moment right now. But bringing her culture into it and showing this art form that we don't really get to see on American television, I thought was so interesting and cool, and she did so well. She looked gorgeous. To this day, I haven't seen anything else like this. The only thing I could compare it to is an equally robbed talent show performance, which was Mariah Paris Balenciaga's BLM movement speech that she did on All Stars 5, which again was just safe. Part of it is because I think they don't want something so heavy to be in the top and take away from like the wacky fun part of the variety show. But I really think that them bringing things that are important to them, like Gia's culture and Mariah's race, were things that need to be seen on television and things that I think were deserving of getting praise from the judges. So for me, Gia Gunn, 1000% top 2 here. The other one is, I was really torn. It's between Monique and it's between Latrice. Now they both do something very different. Latrice does a flag waving routine and lip syncs to her original song. Monique does more of just a dance performance and sings live. So it was hard. The thing that broke the tie for me was the audience's reaction to the two performances. Obviously, they go nuts for both, but they really went wild for Latrice. Part of it is, I think, because she's motherfucking Latrice Royale, but I think another part of it is how much she was using the entire stage. I mean, she was using every inch of that stage. She has such charisma and it's just so much fun to watch that I think it was impossible for the crowd to not go completely berserk for her. So because she had the most audience interaction of the entire night and used so much more of the stage. I mean, she had a skirt reveal, she had a flag reveal, she did the whole damn thing. I did choose Latrice over Monique, but if you would have put Monique in the top 2, I totally can see the argument there, and I definitely thought about it as well. So that is going to be our top 3. Our bottom 3 are not going to change. We're going to have Monet in the low position. We're going to have Jasmine and Pheromone in the bottom 2. Now, Monet, I think, was really a letdown in this challenge because she has such a stage presence and because she is such a star. I really thought she was just going to come in and, destroy. And she kind of just does, like, the greatest hits of her season 10 run with her sponge look, with reusing the fake out jump split, and it just kind of didn't feel fresh and it didn't feel fun. I think we have the two binaries of Monique referring to her brown cow stunning season 10 meme, but turning it into something bigger and more fun and new, whereas Monet kind of referenced her season 10 moments, but not in a way that was new or fresh, and I think that is how we see one of them in the top and one of them in the bottom. Now, poor Pheromone, poor Jasmine Masters, they just, things didn't work out for them. We still love them, we adore them, but they were the very clear bottom two of this week. So, what is going to happen? We're going to see Latrice and Gia Gunn lip sync to Emotions by Mariah Carey, and no tea, no shade to Gia Gunn, but it's Latrice. I think Latrice is for sure going to win here. And this creates a very interesting dynamic because, as they said in the beginning of the episode, Latrice has keys to Jasmine's house. They've said lots of times they're smoking buddies, they hang out all the time, they're very close friends outside of the show. Now, I think it'd be easy to say, well, Farrah obviously planned out a lot more of her routine. She had reveals and she had props and she really thought out her performance, even if it didn't turn out as well as she had hoped. Whereas Jasmine just winged it and went on that stage and, didn't really put a ton of effort in. But I do think friendships are going to make a big impact on the season, as we've seen in other All-Star seasons. And I think that Latrice would save Jasmine here. I don't think that she would send Jasmine home first. I think if it was later on in the season, Jasmine hadn't been doing super well, she might have, pulled the trig and just sent her friend home. But this is episode 1. I don't think she's sending one of her closest friends home. So we're going to see Pheromone leave first in this scenario. And that's going to lead us into the Girl Groups Challenge, where our top three actually is going to stay completely the same. We have Valentina, who, obliterates this challenge. We have Monet, who gives one of the best rap verses we've ever heard from any of the remix songs. And we have Naomi Smalls, who I think really popped in this episode. She had really funny lyrics. She looked really cool. And her runway this episode, I thought, looked completely different from what anyone else was doing. So I think she was a very clear standout in this episode. As for the bottom three, I think Manila definitely, as she said, she purposely flopped this challenge to not be an early threat. And I think that she definitely deserved to be low. I do think the runway saved her, because there was one queen that I think just did a little bit worse, and that was Gia Gunn. Her runway was nothing special, and her verse was just kind of awkward. But I will say, her performance look from this episode was killer. I love this look on her. But the performance was kind of stiff and the lyrics weren't there for me. So I did put her in the bottom two, next to Jasmine Masters. Now, the reason I put Jasmine in the bottom here isn't because I don't think that she could do well at this kind of challenge. It's because I don't think Jasmine was trying that hard on All Stars 4. I mean, we saw her on 2 episodes, The Talent Show and LaLaPaRuZa, and both of them, she was giving like 50%, if that. Like more like 30% of what we know she can do. Maybe she just wasn't feeling the competition vibes. Maybe she just was happy to be there and was like, you know what, I'm just going to let what happens happen. But she wasn't fighting and clawing in these challenges like a lot of the queens on the season were. It shows when a queen isn't giving everything she has, and it was very clear that that is what we were getting from Jasmine. So, looking at someone like Monique, who was put in the bottom in this challenge, you could tell she cared, you could tell she was trying, you could tell she was really doing everything that she could, and I don't think that she deserved to be in the bottom. So we're going to have Jasmine and Gia Gunn in the bottom 2, and we're going to have Valentina and Monet lip sync to Into You. And I'm just going to say it, like I did in the other episode, Monet didn't try, but even if she did try, I do think that this song is just more up Valentina's alley, and what we saw her do with it, I'm not sure Monet could potentially beat. So I am going to give Valentina the win in this lip sync, and she is going to very easily send home Jasmine Masters, since she was in the bottom 2 weeks in a row, and Gia Gunn was just in the top the week prior. So now we can move on to the Snatch Game of Love. And I didn't say that it was rigged, that there would be one winner from each group, because that was the rules, right, going into it. So even though Naomi did do better than Manila, that was already established as a rule. So it's not like they rigged it for Manila or they rigged it against Naomi. But I am going to say in this scenario that there can be a queen who gets the man in each one, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the top two. And so we're going to see a top two of Trinity and Naomi. They were very clearly the two funniest. And I think this would have been a really good storyline for Naomi, because she almost went home in her original Snatch game. She was bottom two. And we saw that was when she really came out of her shell on her original season. So seeing her growth to now where she can win a Snatch game is something I really wish we could have seen. So she will be top two. Manila will be high. And as for the bottom three, obviously Gia Gunn is going to be there. But I also put Monet Exchange in the bottom two because she didn't have a single joke land. A lot of the things she was doing were, yes, references to Whitney Houston, but in this setting, they just didn't work whatsoever. And it just ended up being really cringe, honestly. Whereas I think Valentina, who I put low, didn't do well. Like, she was saying funny things, but they weren't in reference to questions being asked of her. But I think she had the voice down, she had the mannerisms down. You could see that she was in that character, even when it wasn't on her. She was fully in that character. Whereas, like, if you move the camera off of Monet, you can kind of just see her, whatever, yeah, I'm just here. So we have a top two lip sync to How Will I Know, which honestly, in this scenario, I'm sad we don't get to see Manila give the lip sync performance of the season, but that's okay. We'll see Naomi beat Trinity. Trinity just, I don't think, really vibed super well with the song, whereas we know Naomi can do basically any song now, so I think Naomi would win. And of the bottom two, there's no doubt about it, she is sending home Gia Gunn. Gia was annoying everybody. She had now been in the bottom 2 weeks in a row. So yeah, Gia, the worst Snatch game ever, and she is out. Before we move on to Jersey Justice, where the top three is going to stay exactly the same. Monique and Manila in the top two, with Valentina high. But, I'm sorry, Trinity is going to be in the bottom here. We saw originally that Monet was in the bottom two with Latrice. And while I don't think Monet did great, I also think that that team was at a disadvantage because there were three people in that team. So they had to fight for the spotlight more. And with Monique just being an absolute juggernaut in this challenge, demolished it, was so funny. There wasn't much room for Monet and Latrice to do much. So I put Monet low because she did have some one-liners that were good, and she kept up with Monique decently well. But Trinity couldn't keep up with Valentina. And that was kind of shocking since we get it set up earlier in the episode that, oh, Valentina's gonna suck here. This is Valentina's, like, flop era. And Trinity's kind of amping herself up as like, oh, I got this. I'm gonna do just fine. I'm worried about having Valentina as a partner. Well, then we see Valentina do super well, and Trinity literally doesn't even remember her fake name in this challenge. And Trinity's not, like, horrible, but she's just not giving what you would expect from Trinity. And in such a challenge where you want to go all the way, it seemed like Trinity was holding back. So I think for that reason alone, Latrice and Trinity are going to be the bottom two. We're going to have a top two lip sync between Manila and Monique, and obviously Monique wins this. So who is she going to send home? Obviously Manila would have saved Latrice and voted out Trinity. But it seemed like Monique wasn't featuring Latrice super much on this, super much, just that much on this season. And I don't think there was actual beef between them. I just think that Monique was expecting Latrice to do better. And yes, in this situation, Latrice has a win, but the Snatch game, she really didn't stand out. And now here she doesn't stand out. So I think that Monique, one, saw this as an opportunity to take out someone who had a big presence and a big name behind them, which will help her obviously moving forward. But also, Latrice wasn't giving what Monique was expecting her to, and that was justification enough for her to send Latrice home. Whereas Trinity, this was her first bad performance. So while there's a chance I think maybe she does get rid of Trinity, I think she's still going to get rid of Latrice here. And we're going to see Latrice go home, just like she did this season in Jersey Justice. So we can move on now to the roast. We're going to have a top 3 and a bottom 3. And we're just going to put Naomi, Valentina, and Trinity in the bottom together because honestly, I don't know who you would save out of the 3. You could say Trinity had a good runway or Naomi had a good runway, but they all were abysmal in this challenge. So this is one of those instances where I think they could just say, there's a bottom 3, you all are in it. So Monique is going to be high. She was obviously thrown in the bottom just for the twist to work. But now we're going to have the top 2 of Monet and Manila, where they're going to lip sync to Jump to It. And I'm sorry, but Monet won this lip sync. They made it a double win to save Valentina. In my opinion, Monet just had that little bit extra to her performance that Manila didn't have. Again, I think they both did well, but I gave this win to Monet solo. So, who is she going to send home out of this bottom 3? In this scenario, Naomi has a win and hasn't been in the bottom, so I think Naomi's off the table. Valentina has not been in the bottom either, but she has had a week where she was low. Trinity, this is her second time in the bottom, but she has a win as well. I think she's going to send home Trinity because she's the only one to have multiple bottom placements so far. So Trinity's going to go home in this roast. Yeah, the queen that is born to do drag is going home in the roast, which leads us to the LaLaPaRuZa. And I just wanted to spill this tea that a lot of you guys mentioned in the comments, and I had no idea about this interview or the video that this was mentioned in. But I had speculated that I think the songs were pre-chosen, that whatever was in those boxes didn't matter, that whatever song these queens got in the LaLaPaRuZa was already planned out for them. And Naomi said this in an interview where she apparently went backstage and saw that every box had the same song in it. So, like, the 2 boxes that she had to choose from both said Adrenaline. So, thank you to all of you guys who said that in the comments, and I mean, am I shocked? No, not even a little bit. We're going to keep the songs the same, just because why would we not? It'd make things way more difficult. But we're going to have to add a song, and we'll get to that later, because we're going to make everybody do this twist like it should have been. So Trinity is going to pick her first opponent, since she was the last eliminated. And I think she's going to pick Naomi, simply because it's a storyline for her, and Trinity was down to play game with that. So Naomi won their last lip sync against each other, and I just see Trinity being like, I want redemption. I want to beat Naomi now. And it's not like Naomi going into this season was known as a lip sync assassin. I think this is where, this episode actually, is where Naomi really established herself as that. So I think of all the queens to choose from, Naomi's kind of the best bet on who you could beat. And so then we have Latrice. She's going to pick Monique again for storyline. And again, because I think of the 4 left, Monique has the worst track record when it comes to lip syncing. Next, Gia. I think out of Valentina, Manila, and Monet, I think she's going to pick Valentina. Since, again, she had a lip sync flub on her original season. She obviously did well this season, but of the 3, I think Valentina's the best bet to go against. And that leaves Jasmine to pick between Manila and Monet. I think she's going to pick Manila, which means Pheromone is going to go against Monet. So let's look at these lip syncs. We have Farrah versus Monet to Peanut Butter. And, like, Monet's going to win, obviously. And now we have Jasmine versus Manila to Kitty Girls. And I think Jasmine could do good to this song, but I think it's Manila Luzon. And Manila is going to win here. But now this is the really interesting one. And I asked for some of my friends' opinions because I genuinely was like, I don't know how this would go. We have Gia Gunn versus Valentina to Adrenaline. And I know it's sad Naomi doesn't get Adrenaline, but that's why I say that the rigged version is sometimes the best version. So Gia versus Valentina. I am not as high on Gia in this lip sync as I think a lot of people are. To me, I think she did a lot of fun moves, but she was missing lyrics, and I think she definitely got washed by Naomi. But I still think she did a good enough job. The question is, would Valentina do better? I'm not so confident in that. I think we've seen her lip sync to Into You, which was definitely more up her alley. It's a slower tempo song where she can just kind of dance around. Adrenaline is like a voguing, death droppy, splitty, that kind of song. I don't think Valentina could beat Gia Gunn in Adrenaline. And I'm just going to say that. And I think this would actually be like the gag of the episode where Gia Gunn, the villain of the season, fights and claws her way back to kick out Valentina and re enter the competition. Let me know what you guys think below. Do you think this would be a double? Do you think that Valentina could beat Gia Gunn? I'm picturing Valentina in Adrenaline, and I'm not picturing it being super good. So this is just what I think. I want to know your guys' opinion, though, because this is one of the ones I was like, oof, I'm not sure. But we can move on to Latrice and Monique. So you see that walk? They're going to bring back Latrice. Let's just be real. And they should have. I know that some people think Monique won this lip sync. I know some people think Latrice won this lip sync. I think this is one where it's close enough that you could just call it a double Shantae and it's fine. So that is two queens that have just fought their way back. And now we have Trinity versus Naomi. And I picked a song that I want to see as a lip sync from RuPaul. And we've yet to see, at least I don't remember off the top of my head, seeing. And it's one that I think Naomi could do well at. And all of these songs were tailored for the queen who was in the competition. I want to see them lip sync to I Bring the Beat. And Naomi's going to win. I'm sorry, Naomi is going to win. Trinity, I think she could do okay. But again, I don't think they're going to bring back 3 whole queens here. So I think Naomi's going to beat Trinity. And it's going to be like a, oh my gosh, not this. Let's then take our top 6 into the Club Queen Challenge, which should have been a top 6 anyways. So who are going to be the teams? Since Latrice and Gia return to the competition, they get to pick who their teammates are. So obviously Latrice is going to pick Manila, and I think Gia is going to pick Naomi. Her other options were Monique or Monet, but I don't think she necessarily got along with them or knew them, whereas I think Naomi and her had been in the Ru Girl pool for a while, and their styles are a little bit more similar. So it just makes sense for her to pair off Monique and Monet and take Naomi. And at this point, Naomi had been doing pretty good in the competition as well. Who will have the best club? I think it's very clearly going to be Manila and Latrice. Manila's design ability paired with Latrice's charisma, I think is what really nailed Club Hive as the best one. So they're going to be the top 2. I think Monique and Monet, they did a nice job as well with their outer space themed club. And that leaves Gia and Naomi in the bottom 2. Top 2, Latrice and Manila, lip sync to You Spin Me Right Round by Dead or Alive, which was a very exciting lip sync choice for me, and then I was very disappointed with the end result. Latrice didn't do as well as I thought she did, and for a campy song like this, I think Manila could beat her here. So we're going to have Manila win this challenge and very easily send Gia back to the house. So we have our top 5. So we either are going to do the makeover or we're going to do Sex and the Kitty Girl. And which one do you think I'm going to pick? That's right, we're going to do the makeover at top 5. We're going to have a top 2 and a bottom 3. And to me, the top 2 of this group was very clearly Monique Hart and Naomi Smalls. So that leaves Monet, Latrice, and Manila in the bottom. We have a lip sync to Come Rain or Come Shine. And, I love you, Monique Hart, but there was no shot in hell anyone else could win this lip sync against Naomi Smalls. So Naomi is going to get her second win of the season, and she gets to send home one of the bottom 3. And, I think it's very clear she's still going to do exactly what she did before. She is going to send home Manila Luzon in a shock elimination, and that leaves us with our top 4. Monique, Monet, Naomi, and Latrice. And at this point, Monique is like miles ahead of everyone else. Everyone else has a track record that has, some lows, some bottoms. Monique has been safe or high or win every single week, which I think is fully accurate. I don't think she had a single bad performance. The two times she was in the bottom on the actual season was the girl groups, where I think she very clearly was just thrown there to save Gia Gunn. And then in the roast, where there were three queens who did way worse than her. So I think it's very clear Monique is going into this finale with the best track record by far. The issue then is when she doesn't do that well in the finale. She's not bad, but I think Naomi and Monet do a lot better than her in the verse and on the runway. We obviously don't know how Latrice would have done, but I can guess she would do probably really well in the remix. And I'm sure her final runway was gorgeous. So Monique is kind of then in a very interesting position because she did the best by far on the season, but in the finale, she's probably doing the worst. So what happens? I think they are going to do a top two of Monique and Monet, the best of the season and the best of the finale. And we're going to go into the final two lip sync to Fighter. Now, the question is, will Monique keep her wig on? And I hope so. I hope she does. We don't know, and maybe she said, I looked it up, but I couldn't find anything, so let me know in the comments below and I'll pin it. If she has stated what she would have done for that final lip sync, if she had a gag or whatever. I saw her, she had like a heart charm, maybe that comes off, I'm not sure. I think she is going to do super well to Fighter. Definitely way better than Trinity the Tuck would. And we also saw Monet do really, really well to Fighter. So I'm just going to make a bold move. I'm going to crown both of them. We're going to have a Momo double win. And I think it would be more justified in this position because Monique had a better track record than Trinity did and did better in the finale than Trinity did and would do better in that final lip sync than Trinity did. So it's like, one, you can't deny that Monet destroyed every single facet of this final episode, despite her having not the best track record on the season. But you also can't deny that Monique 1000% deserves to win a season where she was never even lower than safe. So I think this is a more justifiable double win. And I think because they were from season 10 together and they're friends and they have such a fun dynamic, it would have been a better story. You know what I mean? Like Trinity and Monet didn't have a storyline between them. So then when they win, it's just like, oh, okay. Whereas a Momo double win would have been amazing. The fans would have loved it. And they would have the storyline where it would make sense. Where it's like, you know what? They're friends. They've done 2 seasons together. They both came back right off their original season and they slayed together. So it makes sense why they would win together. So that is just my 2 cents. I'm sure there's things some people would do differently. Maybe give Monique the talent show win. Maybe bring Trinity back in the LaLaPaRuZa. But I want to hear your thoughts and how different your version of the season is than mine. I tried to make this as objectable as possible, and I mentioned the things that I thought were a little bit questionable and there could be other opinions on. But for the most part, I genuinely think this is a pretty clear representation of how an unrigged season would go. So let me know if you agree with me. Let me know what things you would change. And thank you for watching. Here are the links to all of my social medias. I hope you've been following my Instagram because I have a series going on there where I'm breaking down the track records and the runs of our season 14 top 5. So go check out my Instagram if you haven't for that, as well as follow my Twitter to hear all of my thoughts on this finale coming tomorrow. I'm very excited for it. I'm excited to go to my local gay bar, have a couple amaretto sours, and root for literally all of them because I love everyone in this top 5. So thank you again for watching. It's been such a long day solving the mystery of what this world would look like if Naomi didn't do adrenaline. And you know what? I realized I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to live in that world. So I'm happy that All Stars 4 was rigged. And I can't say that every video, but I can 1000% say that in this video. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.